Hello, everybody. My name is Jacinda Walker. Welcome to yet another Cleveland Design Week presentation. We're super incredibly fortunate today to be here with CIA presenting Mr. Malcolm Moore, who's going to speak with us a little bit about adversity and discipline. We are wrapping up our Cleveland Design Week, so we're super excited and incredibly appreciative of all of the people who came to events, all of the people who supported events, all of the people who called and emailed and RSVP'd and everything. We will definitely be back next year. Check out our website at clevelanddesignweek.org. Materials from the talk today, as well as the last 7 days of talks, are all at our website under the highlights page. I'm going to take a moment and allow Malcolm to introduce himself and to kind of jump in and begin to share his screens. And I just want to let you all know, write any questions in the chat. We'll definitely be coming back and doubling so that I can check those if you have anything along the way. But never, never, never underestimate good time and good people and good relationships. I want to take the moment and turn it over to Malcolm now. So let's just, give him some shouts out and lots of love.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody. My name is Malcolm Moore, alumni from the Cleveland Institute of Art, class of 2015. First of all, it's an honor and a privilege to be here with everybody today. It's really cool to be in these types of positions where I'm able to give back to the communities and give back to the people who gave to me and gave me the chance to be where I am today. So we're going to step right into the presentation. I have a nice little presentation set up for everybody, going over essentially my journey from high school all the way through college, giving you some leeway into my professional life, as well as getting into some of my personal artwork, some of my flow, things I like to do. And we'll end it off with some tips and tricks. And if there's any questions at the end, if we have time, we'll definitely answer those as well. So here we go. How's that look? Does it look good?
Yes, we can see you.
All right, cool. So first of all, everybody, welcome to the Adversity and Discipline presentation by your boy. It's Malcolm. So more importantly, I want to take the time to disclose a lot of things before we get into the content of the material. A lot of the material that's being shown is obviously it's shared material. It's things that can be publicly released. Not only that, it's a lot of my personal work from high school, a little bit of college work, some of my post-college work. I'm not really allowed to share my GM work that is not released, but I do have a little surprise from my internship. I got some release photos from that as well. So that was pretty cool. And I want to give a huge shout out to those guys for getting that to me ASAP. So we'll get right into it. So we'll start off with the first word, adversity. I love when I do these type of presentations. I love giving off like a double entendre, like a play on words, because it speaks to my whole aesthetic. I chose the words adversity and design, and just to keep it completely frank, adversity are like the roadblocks that you may come across. Things. It could be systematic, it could be racism, it could be mental, social, physical, essentially things that are blocking you from getting you to your end goal. And I love this word because I'm the type of person who has dealt with a lot of adversity, whether it's outside in the streets or if it's like in my classroom, even in my professional life, dealing with and learning how to navigate through a lot of these difficult obstacles. But like I say, it's never a good chance. It's never not a good chance to be successful. It's always an opportunity to be successful. And we don't take losses, we learn. So that goes into the next slide, which is discipline. Discipline is how you hone your craft, how you meticulously, you stay in routine, you stay consistent. These are things that when I was younger, I had no clue. My discipline, I was always turning in stuff late, doing, not being as proactive as I should be, and learning that if I want to be successful in this world, this design world, that I need to have my own form of discipline, meaning a process, something that I can fall back on, a solid structure, things that you can look back on, and you can, if you ever get lost in the sauce, you can always go back to things that you were taught and help build you and help build those roadways ahead. So we'll hop right into it. Like I said, this is the user profile. This is something that we do at CIA. I had my resume up here, but I thought it was kind of corny to put my resume up here. So I did something more of like a user profile, like we do when we're identifying the user that we're talking about or that we're designing a product for. So obviously, I'm the user. That's a picture of myself. We're going to talk about a little bit of my personal interests. A lot of my personal interests tie into my design life because aesthetically and cohesively, I try to intertwine the two. A lot of more details, a lot of things that I'm interested in and how that integrates with the design process. So we'll start off with Shaker Heights. So yes, I'm from Cleveland. I went to Shaker Heights High School. I went to Shaker Heights from actually K through 12. I was put in a very, very interesting position because my parents ended up moving from the east side of Cleveland. They moved to Shaker. So that way I can have a way better, way vast learning experience, better, diverse melting pot. And I was put in positions to meet all types of different people, all facets of life. A lot of these photos are callbacks. I had to dig into some of the archives for a lot of these photos. On the left, there's a photo of Dan Wiley, who was also a CIA alumni. There's me in the upper right corner. I'm doing a sketch for my class, airbrushing, and then a little left, and we'll talk about that stuff a little bit later on. Is the graffiti aspect of the high school me, I should say. A lot of these people like Dan, and I wish I had a photo of me and Keith Holiday. A lot of these individuals, a lot of these gentlemen put me in these places. You know what I'm saying? I was a very lazy high school student, actually, to keep it quite frank. I never really got into a lot of the studious things. I didn't skip class, and I wasn't, for all intents and purposes, a bad student. It just didn't interest me. But my teachers would always, and this is gonna sound super cliche, my teachers would always find that I would sit, I would chill, I would draw, I would not pay attention to anything that's going on. And Dan and Keith, and along with my 5th grade teacher, I will never forget this man, Todd Keitlin, were the guys that essentially put me into the art class, put me into the art avenue, where in my head, I'm trying to play sports, I'm trying to be outside, I'm trying to do this. I never thought that I could find a career in doing something that I just did for a leisurely pleasure, you know what I'm saying? More so importantly, these guys were the ones that identified the talent in me that I didn't even know I had in myself. Constantly, fighting inside with myself, I should say, more so or less, with peer pressures, people telling me that, oh, you're not going to be anything. There's not a lot for you to do outside. Like, why are you going to be playing? Why are you going to be drawing? How are you going to make money doing that? I'm telling you now, I'm making good money doing what I love to do. And that's more than a blessing. I have had amazing support system from my professional to all the way to my street life, as well as like the when I say street life, I mean the street art, all the graffiti people that been in my corner, my high school teachers, my elementary teachers, and even my college professors like Dan, So I give a huge shout out to all those guys. So let's get into the nitty gritty. This is the Cleveland Institute of Art. Honestly, I wish they had the old photo of the gun building, because that would set the tone. If you were a student at CIA and you were in the design field, whether it was industrial design, if you were in graphic design or communication design, or if you were in interior design, we were all in that old building. That building had so much character, so much history. And I'm going to tap into that in this portion of the presentation. So this is I laugh every time I see this, and it's always a humbling thing. Like, don't ever get it twisted. You always have to take a look back. That's what one of my old teachers, my transportation teacher Hisham, used to say. Take a look back. Look at things for their totality, and there's nothing that you can't learn from. When I first started in the Cleveland Institute of Art, the work at the very top was my freshman year attempt of doing something that was like, I was reaching. I was trying to do like this cardboard and stuff like that. And like, when I look at this stuff and I laugh, I'm like, I can see where my head was. I was trying to live large. I was trying to, more is less, essentially was with the top of that presentation. But I did learn a lot. I did go down and talk to a lot of the upperclassmen. I got an idea of how to make a board, use these different types of mediums, Photoshop, Illustrator, using marker. I never really sketch in marker. I'm more so or less sketching pencil, translated into pen, so on and so forth. But then these guys were showing me how to, set up boards, measurements, this, that, and the third. Oh, and mounting. Presentation is key. I wasn't really big into presentations until I got into ID. And we're definitely going to hit on that too. So in the bottom left corner, the presentation starts small. There's a lot of ideation, inspiration. Above my photo is a picture of somebody that when I was in school, he was like, that's the guy that everybody wanted to aspire to. It's a little bit of like I would say an image board, but it was from his internship. So, you know, you always have your little studio space with your work. A little bit more so or less, you have some inspiration, and you just grinding. And then obviously, I mean, well, not obviously, to the right, it's a photo of me at my very first spring show. If Dan could talk right now, Dan would probably say a couple things about my first spring show, but I'll tell you, it was fun. It was fun. We got the chance to present our work to real life professionals at the well, I forgot the name of the building, but it was the building across from Case. Regardless, it was this really cool venue. We set up these walls. It was all student and professor driven. So we, the students, were the ones setting up the walls with our professors, measuring out stuff, getting things set up, lining people up. You know, you had the sophomores on one floor, juniors in another section, and the seniors had the big floor, because this is their time to shine. This is when they're trying to get out for jobs. And obviously, this is also a time for everybody else to shine, more so less for the underclassmen. It's about internships. But this was also a very cool space for us to present our work, present who we are, present our brand. And that's one thing that, as an adult, I'm not talking about when I'm a kid, as an adult, that I grew to like learn is branding. Branding is key. So this right here, this is my favorite slide. You're going to see a lot of these things, and I could talk about this for hours. I literally could. If the walls can talk, that is a hip hop line from Kendrick Lamar. If these walls could talk, if you can walk into the old building that's not there anymore, the walls will have stories to tell you. They'll tell you about students sleeping under their desk, hiding in the clay room. Dan, I'm sorry, I gotta put some of our students on blast. Some of us, we stayed longer than we should have, as you know, working and grinding. Students, you know, stressing, people worrying about, you know, how they're gonna get their work hung up. And also the really cool thing, the unique about the design field, especially within CIA, we are all about growth and teamwork. We're not only about growth and teamwork, we're all about building each other up. Like, that's very important. I think I can say this with the utmost confidence. You will not find a dynamic better than CIA. I'm saying that with a straight face. There's no, I've been to a lot of different schools. I've been to the CCSs, I've been to the art centers, I've been to the San Francisco School of Art and stuff like that. They don't do it. It's more about individualism over there. And CIA, we bring everybody up. But on the flip side, these walls are a culmination of students' work, their hard effort. And to be honest with you, if your work's not that good, everybody's going to know about it. So it's a little bit of show and tell, a little bit in doing what not to do. And this particular photo, when I said adversity, this is when I actually just got back from my GM internship. And I was at a real low at this point. And that photo picture is Connor Bartella. Shouts out to Connor. Connor actually works with me at GM. He was a freshman. No, he was a sophomore. He was a sophomore at this time. But regardless, I came back from my internship. I was at a real down. I had a lot of conflicting things in my head. I could not get anything down correctly. My confidence was rocked. I literally went on my internship. I thought, you know, one of the youngest interns, you know, as a sophomore to land at General Motors. I was extremely blessed and fortunate for that. Got interviewed by Bill Montana for that great opportunity. I come back, I had a really good, you know, aspiration to do certain things, but I was constantly knocked down. My confidence was constantly knocked down because, believe it or not, and I'm going to keep everything nameless because, you know, a lot of my peers rained on my parade. They thought I came back really egotistical. They, you know, I have a very strong, exuberant, very strong personality, and it gets mistaken sometimes for being arrogant. But I came back and I tried to hunker down, but half the battle is mentally, you know, and I never understood that. And I suffered a lot my junior year trying to be the people pleaser instead of pleasing myself. This picture shows, more importantly, that struggle. I know exactly what time it is. Nobody's in the school. It's 12:30 at night. We literally got all the desks. We got two little chairs or two little tables. There was three of us. We sat down. We literally sat in front of the person who had the best work at that particular time. We sat in front of his wall and we sketched until the building closed. That is the type of dedication. That's the type of teamwork. That's the type of, you know, things you will see at CIA. You could come at 7 o'clock and you could come at 12 o'clock. There are always students there. There are always people grinding. So we move a step forward. Like I said, the walls, these are all presentations that I've done. I'm not even going. I think that these presentations. I love seeing my old work because I've come along. I can say this humbly speaking. I've come a long way. I've learned a lot, and I still learn things when I look back. You know, taking a step from the left side, we have some sophomore work. And shouts out to Justin. We have my presentation. I wish I had the old photos, but the presentation with the DJ setup was a project that I did trying to make a DJ automotive car. It was pretty cool. But the project below that was my Corvette project, in which that landed me the internship at General Motors. And that was sophomore year. So as you see, we're constantly trying to up our presentation game. You know what I'm saying? So you're constantly working on your craft. You're constantly trying to figure out ways of conveying things and brand yourself at the same time. I love things like this. So we'll hop in. We'll take a little time lapse. This is a lot of information, and I know nobody's going to understand what it is. Me specifically, I have a scatterbrain. I'm a very visual person. So words, I say a lot of words, and Aaron Pizzuti used to tell me, if you have more words than you have work up, you're doing it wrong. Well, I challenged that, and I had a lot of words and I had a lot of visuals, and I definitely had the work to back it up. And it was stuff like that. And it's no knock against Aaron whatsoever. It was stuff like that that motivated me. You know, my mind is always scattered. That's why I say mind plus matter, not mind over matter, because they both coincide to me personally. I literally, on a day-to-day basis, when I was trying to make these brief boards, I always had trouble with coming up with a cool solution for a problem. My problem solutions were always like really stagnant. So instead, I always try to make a movie scene or something more so or less where I'm trying to design something for a specific persona. It allowed me to come up with the Cadillac brief, which is only a portion of it. Like I said, it's a scatterbrain thought. So bear with me. I'm gonna get into that a little bit. And also the brief for the Dodge project. When I say scatterbrain thoughts, it's more so or less, it's a time map. So essentially we would make these briefs so that somebody could come down and get your whole idea of how you're thinking. So you start with your brief, and we'll read this right off the screen. This was for senior year. So my brief was to design a new evolution of the Cadillac brand language through a 4-door coupe that provides both a design statement and a sense of arrival for a sophisticated customer. That's a lot of stuff. So I was thinking to myself, how could I creatively do something that allows me to push myself as a designer and creatively thinking? I said, why won't I design a car for somebody that has not a split personality, but lives two different lifestyles? Style versus stilo. A style is a consensus of what is cool, and your own personal stilo is what you present to the world that you present as cool. I love those play on words. They're so cool. So essentially now we go over to the Dodge thing. And don't worry, we're going to get into all this work. I can't wait. Actually, I can't wait to get into that too. It's pretty cool. The Dodge portion of the project. This was my senior thesis. This is when I told you the discipline comes in. I found something that worked in the previous semester, and I stuck to the recipe. I stuck and I stayed consistent. People at CIA are, I'll put our industrial design team on blast. It's not our team. I'll say the students. We are bad. We're bad at time management. We were bad at doing all-nighters. We would be bad at getting our stuff printed. We would swarm the print center. Poor Josh would be up there with his workers trying to get everything out to satisfy everybody. We were bad. But my senior year taught me a lot. Instead of trying to satisfy the masses, you need to satisfy yourself. You need to learn how to satisfy yourself first and foremost, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the only person that can look back and be proud or not proud of it is you. So instead of conflicting and fighting with people about things about what I wanted to do because I'm taking the time to do it, I remember I told Joe Daner. Joe Daner was he was the head of he was an executive for FCA at the time. Came down and looked at our presentations, and Joe's a man of principle. And I never really understood I never understood Joe. Joe was kind of like the mean guy. Joe would come down, he'd be like, "Oh man, Joe's coming down," But as I got older, Joe wanted people to always unapologetically. Joe, I envied him because Joe professionally was unapologetically himself. I never even said that publicly. I just want people, anybody from our schools here and you look back at Joe Daner, just remember what I said. Joe Daner was a man of principle who was unapologetically himself. So when I presented my thesis project to Joe, Joe didn't want to hear, oh, I'm trying to change the world. Joe looked at me and said, why are you drawing this, Malcolm? And I looked at Joe, and Dan was in the audience. Excuse my language. I gotta keep it funky. I looked at Joe and said, Joe, I just want to draw cool shit. Joe took us, and everybody looked at me like, oh my God, like what? Why would you say that to somebody that's giving you a job? And Joe looked at me. I respect that. And from that just told me everything that I needed to know as far as when it came to branding, when it came to presentation, when it came to speaking compassionately about your work. At the end of the day, we're all in it for the same thing. You just want to present something that's cool, that is eye-taking and it's breathtaking and is captivating to people around. It doesn't matter about the potential. There's first of all, let me say this. There is so much substance in solving the biggest problem, but you're not going to solve world hunger. So you need to learn how to solve things that you can, and the things that you can that are presented in front of you, which is what my thesis project was about. My thesis project was to take a brand, FCA Dodge, which is all known for American, and present that to a younger generation of kids who don't drive stick. We're always on our smartphones. People want to go on Instagram, Snapchat, do all this stuff. Nobody wants to get involved into the vehicle as a whole. So how can I take people that are my age and put them in the position where they want to get involved into these things? And it spoke to the Dodge brand because the Dodge heritage is about in your face, American muscle. It's about big, bad, and bold. I remember this because being a resident in Michigan, it's a joke. You see Dodge products everywhere. You see Scat Packs, you see Hellcats, you see all types of the same looking car with motors that get bigger, bigger, and bigger, but it works. The Challenger, Aaron Pizzuti told us my junior year, the Challenger hasn't changed designs. There might have been facelifts here, facelifts there, but the essence of the Challenger has not changed. And I think it was like 15 years, maybe it's longer. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. But if you look at the Challengers when they first came out in comparison to when how they look now, the only difference is they have new hoods. They might be a little less chunky. The body lines are still the same, and the headlights and tail lights still speak to that same heritage. It's bold. It's all about the continuity. It's all about the continuity. It's all about being I can't even think of the word right now. I'm brainstorming, but it's about being repetition. It works. So if the wheel's not broken, why fix it? That's exactly how I had to spin their brand identity, their brand DNA, and present that to students. So we get into some of the work of Cadillac. Like I said, I was able to present work, or I was able to I had to design for a split personality. So this was an envelope where I had to push my sketching, because your senior year, you're not sitting there. You don't have time to overlay, because your sketches, time is money. You know what I'm saying? So your sketches have to be impactful. You do a lot of editing. And I look back at a lot of these sketches. Oh man, they're old. Some of them are cool. Some of them aren't, some aren't, but it's the fact that I was doing it. It's the fact that I was proactively pushing myself. I was working at the same time. I was working at two different themes, and I was getting 6 or 7 or 10, feet of feedback, which as a student becomes very overwhelming. People don't understand, like, you get presented so many opinions, you get presented so many things that you should and should not fix, and it's overwhelming as a student. Where in the past, being a freshman, a sophomore, and a junior, like I said, I was the people pleaser. I tried to do everything. And I got into this habit of trying to do everything and get lost in the sauce, get lost in things that I was doing, things that I was trying to do. And I would stress myself out, and it would hinder me creatively. When this project, it was the time where there was a lot of feedback, and we were doing a lot of this feedback on social media. And even at that, man, and I'm not, we'll keep it discreet. I got beat up a lot my senior year for this project, because I had professionals who held the fact that you want to get a job here, so you should listen to me. And I had friends in my other ear telling me, you should do this, you should do that. And essentially, I'm not going to be the person to sit here and tell you that you should never listen to somebody who's superior, somebody who has that type of power. But that power, people have too much power. And at this particular point of my life, I wanted to take control. So more so importantly, This is the adversity. So I took that adversity. I took the naysayers, the people who were just telling me to do things that they wanted to do. And it's crazy. Times you listen to people and they tell you to do something. I sat down with Jose Gonzalez, and Jose is one of the OGs. He still works at GM. And he's from Cleveland as well. And he told me, he was like, you're going to hear 20,000 different things. He said, what makes you a good designer, what makes you a good decision maker, what makes you somebody who has some form of integrity is when you can take 20 things, you'll hear 5 of them, and you take those 5 and you do those 5. You can't build Rome overnight. You cannot do more than what you can do. And instead of staying up and stressing and depriving myself of sleep, depriving myself of nutrition and stuff like that, because at CIA, I was up. I was doing my thing. And you know what? It's crazy. I say these things. I wouldn't change any of that for the world. But instead of doing all those things and trying to labor over what everybody else's opinion was, what did I do? I focused on myself. I was told so many things and nobody could fault me, because when it was all said and done, and I'll say this with a straight face, when the presentation came down to it, I was the only one with all the deliverables. Interior, I had the interior, I had the exterior, I had this, I had that. Meanwhile, the same people, same people who were telling me you need to do this were like, you had all of this? And I was like, yo, it's about cutting your losses. It's knowing when to call it not quits, but finish for the night. It's knowing how to time manage yourself. It's knowing, then they don't know the underlying work. They're not knowing, people don't understand your whole process. I presented myself. I would always come in. I'll be the first one in the studio. I'll be the last one out of the studio. I had everything ready to print and put on the walls Thursday, and Friday, I spent all Fridays doing the renders that you see at the bottom. I want to go back for a second. I started with a lot of these ideation sketches, and I always would take the hottest sketch, which is that I would say the tip. It was the tip. It's like 3/4, making it into an environment. I started having fun. That's what I'm getting at. Having fun with this. If you're not having fun, you're doing the wrong thing. I never in my life when I was at school, I had fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I did, but I never had fun. It was at this particular moment in my college career is when I started having fun. It's when I started to manage my time and I was able to try things, try different techniques. You know what I'm saying? Try things that, oh, well, I don't have 150 sketches today. I'm striving to beat that, but you're not about to have me stay up to 4 o'clock in the morning to hit that number when you guys don't even look at 50 of the sketches. Work smarter, not harder. If I could tell anybody that. When you're a sophomore, when you're an underclassman, yes, you need to pump those numbers out because you need to put in those hours. You need to put in the dedication, you need to put in the time, but there comes a point, we call it self-editing. You start becoming more efficient, you start understanding the process, you start understanding how to flip a sketch, how to make a car look the same in multiple different views, how to draw an interior, how to do perspective. When you're learning the foundations, that repetition and that number does not change. You need to put in that time to get to this point. And honestly, at this particular point in my life, I wasn't even at that point. But like I said, time is money. And I had to present what I had to present at that particular time. And I had to put my best foot forward. So when I was able to tap into that fun aspect, I'll be in there. I hoarded the Cintiq. Dan would send out emails. You cannot monopolize the Cintiq. And I would say, well, they need to get to school early because if I'm getting to school before you're getting to school, and people know that I am notoriously late for stuff, like regardless of what it is. But if Malcolm's coming to school first, you're doing something wrong. There's no reason why I should be there before you if I'm notoriously late for things. And I told Dan, I was like, Dan, they need to get to school before I get to school. And if I didn't have a Cintiq at home, I'm not giving that Cintiq up, respectfully speaking. So also, at the same time, balancing all these things, we were also, metaphorically speaking, we were the judge and the juror. We had to make our own judgment calls. We had to pick our own themes. We had guidance and stuff like that. But as a senior, you were tasked with that. And at the same time, while you're working on all this stuff, you were tasked with doing a clay model. Clay models start from foam bucks. We get it in, a relatively rough form. And everything we did was kind of like guesstimated. Obviously there are way proficient ways to do this stuff now. And we also have CIA, I'm not even going to I can't say that. We definitely do have the reins, and we definitely do have the people in the know-how. We have the people with the knowledge, but a lot of the instructors at this particular time put a little bit more hands off on the seniors because they want to see how you roll with no training wheels. So then you're responsible for figuring out how to cut, like how to make your own buck, how to get from point A, how you're going to get your model, how you're going to get that 3D printed, how you're going to get your mock-ups printed. You know what I'm saying? A lot of this stuff is trial and error, and we learn fast. That's the beautiful thing. And it's not, you're not ever alone at CIA. Everybody's in the same boat. That brings for that collective and that teamwork, because what you might not be good at, I was never good in Alias. Moving through Alias is like maneuvering through the Batcave. Can't do it. Can't do it. So my friend, I would buy him Chipotle. I would sketch up wheels, and this is it plays on because at this particular time, I didn't even know I was playing into the whole design field. Like I'm giving a sketch to an Alias design, Alias sculptor. The Alias sculptor gives me a rendition of the wheel. We go back and forth. We pull and tug on some lines. We send it off to the 3D print lab. 3D print lab. Boom. Then we send it over to the paint lab. Boom. Now it's painted. Now we mock it up and we have to present it. We have the finished product in front of you. All that stuff I subconsciously did. We subconsciously did. I can't even take credit for it. We subconsciously did. And it's things that played into my professional life. Leading up to, if the walls could talk, presentations, year after year after year of presentations. You start from, as you see on the far left side of your screen, I have my brain map. You really can't see it, but there's a cause and effect that led up to 2030. And that's the rendition of all the work. You can see the two different themes, top and bottom, and how it's basically slimmed it down to one. You come to your finalization, with your interiors, your final, and then you have your presented sketchbooks. Now, this is actually this is my senior thesis project. So it's a combination of some new and old work, because I actually ended up redoing this project. You start, like with anything in the process, it starts with ideation. You know, oh damn, you haven't seen these. These is juicy. So you haven't, you take your sketches, move them over. You take them from the 2D form, and now you're trying to add value. My favorite color is red. I'm sorry, I was coughing. Jesus. My favorite color is red. I think red is impactful, and I'm partially colorblind. That's a little fun fact. So some colors, when I see them together, I can't tell which one is lighter or darker, or the shade hues are a little bit skewed to me. But I always can do white and black, and I can do red, hands down. And then it's funny because I never realized I was colorblind until I took this colorblind test when I moved up to Michigan. And I was like, whoa, that explains why my renderings were so washy when I tried to do blue, green, or yellow. Like, it makes a lot of sense. But more so importantly, we go from the ideation sketches, black and whites, pencil, that's the medium, more pencil sketches with a little bit of Photoshop to add value, add some definition to the definition to the surface. You add color to give it more of like a stylistic. If you don't, one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life is, if you can't draw it right, draw it big and red. But in this case, I drew it right and it's big and red. So same process goes here, the clay model, a lot more hands off. I had this very envelope style where it was like it was a pod or a fuselage that sat on two forms that collapsed on each other. Essentially, it was supposed to be, it was a Vision. It was a Vision GT. I remember Tim came down to he was one of the reviewers, or one of the guys that came down and talked. He was like, well, how can you drive this car on the road? And in a million years, you always have to, as a designer, you always have to be able to back up your work. You always have to be able to talk about your work. You always have to be able to defend somebody asking you a question. And if you don't know the answer to the question, it's one of those things, like, they're like, okay, well, you obviously didn't think this all the way through. And as a car designer, you want to get away from that stylistic approach of just being styling. You want to cohesively think about things. So when Tim asked me this question, he looked me in my eyes and said, how are you going to drive this thing? It's too low to the ground. And I looked at him and I smiled. And I was like, I got an answer for that. I was like, it's a Vision GT. You're not driving this. This is supposed to be the future brand DNA that you pick the drivable cars from. You pick and choose what you want from this, and you use that to depict what you want your future brand to be. And he was like, oh man, that's a good answer. And I would have never thought about that until I got to that point. So as you see, more play from the model standpoint. We have the clay model working to the tape, smoothing out the surfaces, using a lot of the clay tools and stuff like that were provided by some of us had our own tools, some of us bought them from GM. So we have the finished painted model. Luckily, some of us were able to outsource the paint job to we go to paint stores, some people, Shane would paint some of our models. Some of us had a guy that would go do it in Akron for, some change. And he never made any money of it, but he just loved doing it because he was like, oh, it's cool. It's something different to do. Sticker mock-ups, painted the wheels. The wheels were printed deep dish. And obviously we have some of the final renderings. The final renderings, it's the Dodge Zealous. You have to package it. It's supposed to be, in school, it was supposed to fit. It was supposed to be a 2+1. It would be a 1+1. Honestly, it wouldn't be more than 2 occupants. But you go from the model phase, then you go into the final rendering phase. And to this, the whole process in itself, starting from a little pencil scratch sketch, we'll go back a little bit, pencil scratch sketch, you captivate on something that speaks to you, throw it in the clay. From the clay, you revise the clay, boom, final renderings. That process is so cool. It speaks. It's starting from nothing and coming up with something that you've worked on from start to finish, something that you could call your own, something that you can look back on and say, all right, that's cool. And then when, like I said, you have to put in those hours. Once you start developing these techniques, these rendering techniques, you start developing your own style. That's when the tedious stuff is done. That's when you start having fun. That's when you can start adding flair. You start giving, me and Aaron would say, you add a little steez to your flow. You know what I'm saying? More so or less flares. Like I like, Aaron was a big juicy rendering guy. I took a lot of inspiration from those guys. Aaron, Andrew, Chris, those guys were super, super talented. They still are super, super talented. But I took a lot of inspiration from those guys and I try to add my own little flair, a little bit of a dynamic. I'm a very dynamic person. You would think I talk with my hands a lot, like I do. You know what I'm saying? It speaks to me. I want something to be bold. I want it to be in your face. So that was the culmination of this. Culmination of hours of work, hours of presentation. And when I say branding is key, presentation is also key. Popping stuff off the wall, little arrows, little call outs here, little call outs there. So you see my face, that big boards in the back and stuff like that. Stuff like that, I can't speak to the fact of how proud I was of myself at that particular time, looking back at the work that I used to do. And with this, a little bit of effort, a little bit of time, and a little bit of perseverance and staying true to yourself and working through that adversity and staying true to your own forms of discipline, being the first person at school, fingering, don't try to follow somebody else's design process because you can't, the way somebody else's mind works is not how your mind works. Finding your own process, finding your own way to do things and finding something that works for you that allows you to do stuff in a timely manner and allows you to present it at a high caliber and a high level, kills it. So, and I got to pay homage. You got to always stay true to your roots. My dad was my parents were huge proponents in my schooling. I'm gonna try not to get emotional. So my dad definitely would always come to the school. He would always do stuff. And my dad told my mom that the reason why my dad never pushed me to go back into sports or pushed me to get into some kind of trades or something like that is because, and I didn't find this out until I turned 26, actually. So my dad's 76 now. He told my mom that he wanted me to be better than he was. And I love him for 100%. So, but I ain't got time to cry. We got to do a presentation. You know what I'm saying? So Pops, huge shouts out. You know what I'm saying? My dad was always in my corner. He definitely put down the discipline hammer, man, because I was definitely doing a lot of stuff. But when I saw my dad cry on the presentation stage, it was great. It was great because I can look back and tell myself that I did that, And I'm sorry, everybody, because this is all a part of my story. It's about somebody who was told who I couldn't do anything. I wasn't able. I came into CIA on academic probation, actually. Fun fact. A lot of my teachers knew about me because of the academic board or whatever the case may be. They knew I was a loud, obnoxious kid. And my dad would always tell me, he was like, Malcolm, we good. He said, Malcolm, Fuck all that. Do what you want to do and do it because you love to do it. When I'm gone, I want to know that you're good when I'm gone. My dad was, my dad is my biggest fan. So is my mom, biggest supporter. He's my rock, man. He did so much behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. And yeah, you know, my dad gave me this attitude. He gave me this he gave me this ferocious fearlessness to unapologetically always be myself. And I lost that those first 3 years when I was in school. And I got that back my senior year. So for that, I want to say thanks, Dad. I really do appreciate it. I love you very much so. You know, it's coming so far, doing so much, and being able to be put in these positions to constantly give back to people, to constantly do cool things, you know, constantly do what I want to do, not because somebody, oh, thank you, Jason. My buddy gave me tissues. To constantly do what I want to do and constantly tell people that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be different. It's okay. You can still be yourself and be a professional. You still can achieve what you want to achieve as long as you put your mind to it. That sounds so cliche, and I hated hearing that when I was a little kid. Oh, you can put your mind. No, it's the truth. It was the truth, because I've been in a lot of situations. I'm not even going to go into detail about a lot of those things, but I've been in situations where I shouldn't technically be in the position that I'm in right now. I shouldn't be able to talk to the youth. I shouldn't be able to, you know, I shouldn't have went to college, hypothetically speaking. But being blessed and being fortunate to meet specific people at specific times in my life, Todd, Keith, Dan, Miss Fleming, you know, Dan Cafaro, Everard, you know, all these people who were put in my life and helped me see that I can do what I want to do. So your boy graduated. And I love to show this photo because CIA is such a diverse melting pot. It's a mix of different cultures, different religions, different beliefs, but everybody at the end of the day is a creative mind. We might not all get along sometimes, but at CIA, it's all about family. I know every one of my classmates by first and last name. We know what we doing, what we not doing. Some of us stay connected. Some of us stay connected. Some of us don't stay as connected anymore. And that's because we've grown. We're doing adult things. We're doing big things with our lives. But to be that kid in the top right corner who was working, you know, there's Locke over there. What's up, Locke? You know, staying late, working with the buddies, to being able to get the cap and gown and look back at it and say, yo, I did that. That speaks a lot. Dang, well, it's already 12:50. I didn't even realize that. So I want to breeze through this, and we're going to hold off on those videos. We'll save the videos for the last. So General Motors. I was blessed to get some of these images from my internship, basically showing you guys a lot of the process. When I interned in this exterior accessories and components studio with a bunch of people. That's Jackson in the photo with me. But this is what I do now, essentially. Creatively build models from sketches, from data. We clean them, we sculpt them, creatively sculpt them. We do all these really cool things. We start, you know, we still working, what's it called? Wax-based clay. And we still work in scale. We die knock a lot of our models. We don't paint them. It saves a lot of time. So on and so forth. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, you're able to take these, they scan them, they blow them up. Then we do double-sided suited models and stuff like that. This is actually to show you what I do as a professional. I'm a clay sculptor. So you start from a buck, put it in potato form. From potato form, you edge out the lines, paint it, so on and so forth. And it speaks a lot. A lot of these guys come from like model making backgrounds and stuff like that. They come from a lot of rich environments of like using their hands. I'm a kid from the city. Like I didn't know anything about that stuff, but that shows you how diverse that work group is, you know? So what now? So what do I do now? I create. I stay steady creating. I have my own workspace. I'm fortunate enough that I share spaces with people that allow me to create, allow me to do things that I love to do. I have I'm a computer nerd. So, I got my Cintiq, I got the 3 monitors. I'm always listening to music. I'm always doing things that I love to do. But I paint. I used to, before I got into CIA, I was really heavily into graffiti. My graffiti name is Regs, which was actually given to me by Aaron Riggs, but was a abbreviation for regress, which was a play on words because my uncle's first name is Reggie, and I used the numbers 57 to demonstrate these were two very important people in my life. It was my uncle and my auntie, my uncle Reggie, my auntie Chris Stallworth, Crystal Stallworth. So my graffiti name is a combination of both of these things put together, and it's abbreviation for regression, which is to go back, to take a look back, which is exactly what we did today. Regs is short for Reggie. 57 is a salute to my auntie, which is 57, which is KS on the keyboard. And I take that with me wherever I go, 100%. So I paint big. My painting, I don't use color when I sketch anymore. I don't use color when I sketch graffiti. I pen and paper, because I was told if it looks boo-boo in color, it's gonna look boo-boo when you paint it. And that's actually very true. Very true, staying very true to those roots of ideation sketching from nothing, building it up, and then working through the process. Same thing here. Start with a black and white sketch, paint it. And all these places that I'm painting were jobs that I do on the side. I paint bigger than life. I'm only 5'9", but this thing is like a 10-foot wall or something like that. It's huge. It's huge. Taking those sketches, translating those on. And those are things that they're bi-coastal. What does that mean? That means that they essentially fine arts, you had to learn how to cite and stuff like that. It's the same thing with graffiti. It's the same thing with drawing a product, same thing with drawing an automobile, same thing with painting. All that stuff coincides. And it also, as I got better at one thing, without even subconsciously, I got better at other stuff. What also do? I demonstrate. In 2020, I had one of the top 10 articles, essentially what we're going over today, my life story, that was presented to me by Up Magazine. And I think the first place winner was Picasso, but Picasso is a legend. He's the OG. I was in second place with, I think it was like over a couple million views. I was extremely fortunate and blessed to be put in that position. So not only do I create, I demonstrate, I illuminate, and I have text below these. And illuminate, now you'd be like, what does illuminate mean? Illuminate essentially is place an event, or not place an event. It's basically to shine, to allow light to shine on things. What else? I maintain. I'm unapologetically myself. I stay culturally relevant with things around me. I never apologize for my Blackness. My Blackness is what got me into these positions. It allows me to give back to people. It allows me to stay rooted. It allows me to remember where I come from. It allows me to stay fresh, aesthetically, mentally, socially, and artistically. And I strive to be great. You cannot be stagnant. If you want to, my thing is, if I want to leave something for the next generation, I want to be able to leave my mark in a positive light. I don't want to shine negative tones to people or negative things on the people. If I'm put in these positions of, influence, I want to give to those that I wasn't given to when I was their age. And because it is 12:56, I didn't even think I was going to have time I thought I was going to have time for those videos, but apparently I don't. Where can you find me? You can find me on Instagram, regulator_SS, on LinkedIn, Malcolm Moore, or shoot me an email, mmmoore@student.cia.edu. And this is my presentation. This is Adversity and Discipline. Thank you.
Malcolm, thank you so much for sharing all of that. That was amazing. Here, stop sharing your screen for a second so we can do our quick wrap-up interview, because I just have 3 quick questions. I won't ask major big questions because we are near time, but I would be remiss if I didn't at least ask a few major questions.
I got you. Oop.
Excellent. So I have to kind of drill down, Dirty. You said a couple of things that I really love. I work with a lot of young people, and one of the biggest things that we always have to encounter is this concept of time is money.
Yep.
So you think you're making it perfect by spending more time on it, but you're really costing me money. And so, what are some of the techniques that you use to pick up your speed? Like, not saying that you can't invest the time, but there is a confidence piece to it. And so, I regularly struggle with this with young people, helping them to try to understand this. So, now that you understand this, what are some techniques you used to push yourself to get faster?
Honestly, and it's gonna sound really mundane. It's repetition.
Mhm.
It's the one. There's this book that I read. It's the 10,000 hours.
Mm.
You put 10. The closer you get to 10 hours, 10,000 hours or something, the faster and more proficient you get at doing it. It
Yes.
used to take me like 4 to 5 minutes, or 4 hours to do like one rendering. Now I could bust out something in an hour, and it'd be at a higher level. Things naturally come when you let them come. You can't force anything. You
Mhm.
have to be adaptive, and by adaptive I mean you have to be a sponge. If you
Mhm.
want to become faster at things, you have to. We have this thing called social media. You can look at examples of what I used to do. I should say I used to look at examples of what other people were doing, watch videos. I
Mhm.
just continuously practice my craft, and you have to have the discipline to push yourself. You
Mhm.
can't be complacent. Me and
Mhm.
my good friend Omar, my colleague Matt Braun, and there was somebody else. When we used to sketch, it was never a competition, but subconsciously, I'm a competitive person, so I'm trying to finish and make my stuff better than theirs. So
Yeah.
that's how I always push myself. And as the more I did it, the faster I got, and the better I got, and the faster they got, and the better they got. So I would definitely say to that, if you're trying to speed up something, if you're trying to learn how to creatively do something and become better and faster at it, just keep practicing and push yourself. I'm not going to tell anybody to time themselves, because that's a conscious thing. But as long as you're pushing yourself to do better than you did last time, you'll definitely achieve that.
Absolutely. I would love to learn a little bit more about this colorblind thing. Like, how did you find out? You said you had a few clues along the way, but you had not like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this
Um,
is it.
my a friend of mine actually asked me. She was like, "Are you color?" It was funny. We were out and about, and I think I was with Jason, who's here right now. He's in the back over there. But I was with Jason, and I was talking about like I can't see different gradients of colors after looking at a specific color for so long. So she put me online. I went online and I took this little colorblind test, and I was surprised. I can't see shades of different blues sometimes, like different blues. I only could see contrasty colors, and red is just a universal color that not a lot of people are privy to being colorblind to, so I wasn't acceptable to that. But also, it's actually a statistical fact that men see less color than ladies.
I was about to go there. I was
Yep.
about to
And I
go
had no
there.
clue. And it was crazy because I look back at a lot of my old work when I was doing stuff in colors other than black and white and red. And I'll be like, oh, what? And I'll look at it. And what I would do to test myself, I'll render it out in like a weird color. I'll put it in a gradient, make it black and white, and look at it from that. And I'll be like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I found out.
No,
That's
I
how I
love
found out.
that. That definitely speaks to adversity. And then I really appreciate the fact that you kind of put some information in there on how people can find you. And you kind of answered my second question, because I was also going to ask a little bit about time management. With you being able to do the renderings and then move into this physical piece, you know, um, that time management piece must have been really challenging
Mm.
to really absorb.
It was. Dan can talk. Dan probably can talk more to this. ID students, we're terrible at that, man. We have so much stuff on our plate.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yes.
yep. She knows. See,
I
she
know.
said yes.
Oh, yes. I told you, I work with a lot of young people, and that concept of time management, speed, and creativity, it's something that like you don't get serious about it until your check is being affected. And that's
That is.
when it clicks. But for some people, it might be too late by then.
Yep, I
So
agree.
like being able to take that critique about the time management, I really think that's probably an excellent thing that CIA does to make you
Mhm.
all get
You
get
know,
focused on that.
if I were to say one thing, if I were to give one bit of advice for the time management thing, mentor of mine, John Janke, told me, you can only do what you can do, and you can always do the rest tomorrow. And like I was like, well, John, we have deadlines. He's like, it doesn't matter. Why are you going to sit up and spend You can get what you can get done in a lot of hours that you can get done. And then what are you going to do? Stay up to like 5 o'clock and not be as productive as you were. And then you go to school and then you're not productive. So I only developed that once I hit my senior year because we had, like I said, we had people coming down constantly telling us to do stuff, do stuff, do stuff. And you could tell it annoys me still to this day, right? Yeah, it still strikes a nerve. But I had to learn how to deal with my losses. That's what being an adult's about. I told somebody, I'm gonna keep this person's name out. This professional told me I didn't have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I looked at him in his eye and I said, I guarantee I'll be the only person with that at the end of the final. And I was like, because I already knew what I wanted to do. You have to, time management is all about planning. You have to learn how to plan and you have to stick through to that plan and be consistent through that plan.
Yes.
Unapologetically be consistent. I might not have your interior sketches this week, but guess what I do have? I have 3 ideation, I have 3 theme renderings, and then next week I'll have some interior stuff and I'll have renditions of the themes. You feel me? So then my presentations became less of weekly stuff, but it was a build up. I build up the presentation. And that's how I presented a lot of my stuff my senior year. So if I could recap that, make a plan, stick through it, see it through. Don't falter from your plans. Maintain, like literally stay rooted in that. If it worked one time, you can make it better and you can continue to make it work, which is what I did.
Absolutely. Well, Malcolm, we'll stop at this point. We'll put this whole conversation on the website for others who were not able to join our call. I just wanted to make sure that I said thank you so much for contributing and sharing your story with us. And, shout out to the family members, right? Shout out. I meet so many young people who don't have the support from their family. And
I got a little emotional with my dad, man.
We all get emotional because it matters. It matters. It does mean something. So coming from a deep family as well, I highly empathize with your feelings for your father and your mother. So I'll make sure that they get a copy of this video if they call me.
Oh, for sure.
I'll get them a video.
I
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much for everybody who joined us at Cleveland Design Week this year. We're going to be on the website. The AIGA Design 730 Awards is tonight. If you don't have the Zoom link for that, let me know. I'm happy to send that to you. We're going to put the presentation on live. I think they're also going to be live streaming it through Facebook. So thank you again for coming, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Toodaloo.